All right. Drawing on over 20 years of experience in sales and marketing, operations, client relationship management, Jackie Hayes uses her expertise to develop data-driven marketing strategies that help organizations find smarter ways to connect with their audience and assist business growth. Let's welcome Jackie to the stage. Welcome, Jackie.
Good evening, and thank you all for joining us tonight for Beyond Big Social. This is an amazing event, and we are delighted to be here. And so I'm going to share my screen so that you can, hello, Shonda. I'm going to share my screen so that everyone can see the presentation. And as we do that, we're going to have more people joining us, which is amazing. So thank you so much. So give me just a moment to do that. Now, housekeeping notes. When I share my screen, I will not be able to see the chat. And so if I don't address your question, it's not that I'm ignoring you, but the share screen feature is going to restrict my ability to do that. And so what I will, when I come back from the main meat of the presentation, we're going to come back and address questions then. Hey, Deshonda, I thought that was you. Hey, girl. Thank you so much for joining my session tonight. So again, I'm going to share my presentation. I won't be able to see the chat, but I'm going to come back after the meat of the presentation, and we're going to address all your questions about SEO and SEM. So we're not going to get too deep because this is a very heavy topic and we can go down a rabbit hole, but I'm doing my best to answer most of your high-level questions. Okay, let me pull up the presentation. So hopefully everyone can see it. I've told them to text me just in case. So I'll keep my phone close just in case we have a problem. And if you cannot see it, just type it into the chat and someone will let me know. I've circulated my cell number. So again, tonight we're going to talk briefly about advanced SEO and SEM tools and strategies. Okay, see if I can advance. There we go. So a little bit about me and about Crayons and Marketers. Crayons and Marketers is a full-service marketing agency. We use the power of story, strategy, and design to help companies and brands attract, engage, and activate their audience. We were voted one of Nashville's top content marketing agencies in 2019. I'm Jackie Hayes. I am the principal and chief marketing strategist of Crayons and Marketers. I am a certified digital marketing professional through the Digital Marketing Institute. I am also a professional certified marketer through the American Marketing Association. And Crayons and Marketers is a certified women's business enterprise, minority business enterprise, disadvantaged business enterprise, and women-owned small business. So let's take a breath and talk about what we know is happening. 2020 was 2020, right? It went from being a noun to a verb. Well, a few things happened during 2020. We saw a tremendous shift to digital. The pandemic, we like to say, didn't create a lot of the trends that we're seeing happening right now, but what it did was accelerate the shift to digital. Consumers are spending more time online than ever before, and so for business owners, that presents a unique opportunity to reach them on a channel that they spend a lion's share of their day on. Secondly, what do we know? We know that there has been a pivot to e-commerce, from shoppable pins on social media to direct-to-consumer brands, curbside pickup to contactless delivery. Online purchases increased sharply in 2020, and that trend is only going to continue. So this is one of those opportunities that if you have a business, let's just say it's brick and mortar, and you have a website, but You have it just as a placeholder, just to have some digital real estate. This is one of those opportunities that you want to take a closer look at your business model and your channels to see if there's some type of an e-commerce component that may be a good fit for your business. Lastly, what do we know? We need to plan for digital first. As e-commerce continues to thrive, and it will, it is imperative that brands are visible online when consumers are searching for solutions. So a good way to be visible online is to optimize your website. So what does optimizing your website mean? That is using tools like SEO or search engine optimization to make sure that your website, your products, your services show up in search when you want them to. So by definition, search engine optimization is the process of improving the quality and quantity of unpaid, I'm going to say that it's unpaid traffic to a website from search engines and improving its ranking in SERPs. And we'll talk about what a SERP is. Traffic driven by SEO is often referred to as organic or natural search. So I'm going to sit there and let that sink in. Organic or natural search is unpaid traffic. This is doing those things behind the scenes on your website so that it ranks in search better. So what is, on the other hand, SEM or search engine marketing? Search engine marketing is a form of digital advertising that increases a website's visibility in SERPs. And again, we'll define that term. Website traffic driven by SEM is considered paid search. So SEO is free traffic to your website. SEM is paid search, which means you're paying for this exposure. Advertisers pay when a user clicks on an ad, or that's what we call pay-per-click. So what is a SERP? So I've used that term 2 times already. So a SERP is a search engine results page. That is the results the user sees after they search for a particular keyword. So if you were to put in, I don't know, green tea, like I'm drinking right now, I would get a lot of options on various types of green tea. That is the search engine results page. There are 3 main search engines, and I bet there are no surprises here. So in the US, the top three is Google, Bing, and Yahoo. So you can look at these 87% for Google and say, well, it's basically no other search engine. But Google, 87%, Bing at 6.5%, and Yahoo. And you do have others out there. You have like DuckDuckGo, and it's a few other small ones. But as you can see, if you do the math, it's a very small share that they have. So here's a side-by-side comparison of what the differences between SEO and SEM. So SEO is optimization that helps a website rank by delivering the most relevant content for a specific keyword. A keyword is that term that you're almost guessing that that person is going to use to enter in the search bar to find a result. So relevant content for a specific keyword, it drives organic traffic. Again, organic is unpaid. Results happen over a period of time. SEO is not fast. And when we get to SEM, we'll dig into that a little bit more. So secondly, SEO, return on investment can be hard to measure, but it improves over time as authority does. So what do I mean by authority? Authority means when the search engines look at you and deem your content worthy, and because that is Google's, for example, that is their main concern. They want to serve results on the SERP or search engine results page, they want to answer the user's question the best. And that is the content that they are going to prioritize, the unpaid content that they're going to prioritize. Now, in the case of SEM, you're paying for that exposure. You're paying to have your ads show up above organic, and we'll get into that. You're paying for that. But for organic or SEO, they want to deliver the result that answers the user's question best. And that's why I really like SEO, because it forces you, the business, to make sure that you're giving your customers or potential customers the very best content possible. So let's go back over that one more time. So SEO, optimization that helps your website rank organically in search by delivering the most relevant content for a specific keyword or keywords. It drives that organic traffic to your site. So let's just say they put in green tea, your website pulls up, I click and I'm on your website. Now, when you start making these tweaks to your website to optimize for SEO, those changes don't happen immediately. We'll get into crawling in a little bit, but it takes search engines a while to get through all the content on your website so that they can deliver those results to users when they search. ROI can be hard to measure, but it does improve over time as your authority grows, or as Google, for example, sees that you do know what you're talking about. You're answering the question for the user the best. And so every time you do that, it builds your authority in that space, saying, okay, this is a credible site. They seem to know what they're talking about. The users aren't complaining. So that it's almost like building reputation. So SEO is good for driving awareness of core products or services. And so that's what we mean by like your evergreen, things that are always relevant. When we look at SEM, you'll see that we typically use search engine marketing when we're trying to promote something immediate, something urgent. But SEO, on the other hand, are things that you always want to show up in search. So these are your core products, things that are always available that you want to build reputation for over time. 70 to 80% of users click on SEO keywords. So the majority of people click on SEO keywords. Again, we think of this as a long-term strategy. It's not going to happen overnight. But speaking of something that's short-term or more immediate, we have SEM. So search engine marketing are near instant results. Again, you're paying for that instant result. So it's faster to the search engine results page. The traffic is driven by pay-per-click ad campaigns that you set up in Google or in Bing and Yahoo. You set those campaigns up. Results appear at the top of the SERP or search engine results page above organic listings. We'll take a look at an example here in a minute. Now, SEM is easier to measure results and return on investment. SEM is good for those time-sensitive campaigns. You just say you're having a flash sale or something's going on at your store, or you have an offer on a particular product or service and you really want to move that inventory. This is when you would run an SEM campaign so that there's a sense of urgency there. Again, with SEO, those are products and services that are always available, so no urgency. You want to build reputation or authority for those over time. But things that you really need to move, products and services that you have sales on, that's where you're going to do that PPC. You're trying to promote an event, you want to fill the room, you may run a PPC campaign. You may be offering a new product or service. Again, you want to advertise that so people can immediately take an action. Only 20 to 30% of users click on paid search results. So it's not the lion's share. You do not pay until a person clicks, which is some good news. So how these two disciplines are similar is that they all require keyword research, which is research. It's a lot. Optimize landing pages. You have to have somewhere for those individuals to land. And then it's all about traffic. You're still driving traffic somewhere. You're driving them to your website, or you're driving them to a specific landing page to take another option. So that is how SEO and SEM are similar. Website, keyword research, optimize landing pages, and traffic. So how do search engines work? And we talked a little bit about that. This is for SEO. So there are three primary ways that search engines work: crawling, indexing, and ranking. Now, crawling is what we consider the discovery phase, where your content is identified. So when you're updating your website with content, search engines notice that something is new, or a new website has come online. And then it starts to crawl the website. It's looking for those keywords, and it starts to index all the content on your website. You like this? This is like okay. So it starts to index all the content on your website. And so this is what we call the filing stage. And so after the website goes live, the search engines notice that it's there. You don't have to do anything special. You don't have to submit your website to Google. That's a myth that we'll touch on a little later. So search engine, it knows is out there, and it's going to start crawling the site, indexing all that content. It's going to file it away in databases. Now, when a user types in a keyword, it's going to go into that file cabinet or the index. It's going to pull out or retrieve the best result. So that's the ranking side. When that's that retrieval stage, when most of the most relevant information is retrieved from the database and delivered to that user via that SERP, search engine results page. So I'll do that again: crawling, indexing, ranking. A few things to keep in mind: if your website cannot be crawled, phase one, it cannot be indexed. And if it's not indexed, it will not rank. So you can say some things that would keep it from crawling. If you have broken links, and if there's some problems with your website, if it's not being crawled, if it's not indexed, and you can go and tell if your website is being indexed. If you go to, let's just say you type in your company name and it pulls up your search result with your website information on the SERP. If there's no little upside down triangle to the right of your URL, your site is not being indexed. Because if you have that little upside down triangle, it's going to tell you, you click on it, and it will tell you that it's being there's a cage for it, a file, or an index for it. And so you want to make sure that your website is being indexed. And if it's not, you have to use some tools like maybe Google Search Console and some other tools out there that will help you figure out where the errors are in your website. So again, crawling, indexing, ranking. Google's going to crawl it. They're going to index the content. And when a user types in a keyword, that's why you want to be sure to use keywords naturally throughout your content on your website. Naturally, meaning don't stuff them, because you will be hit with a penalty by Google by doing that. Just natural keywords. And then they will retrieve the website that answers the user's question the best. So 3 ways to boost your site's SEO value and get seen. So it basically falls into 3 categories: technical, on page, and off page. So technical is activities unrelated to content that improve your website's SEO performance, like the site's crawlability. So again, some ways that you can minimize your site's website errors, which would prevent it from being crawled. So redirects wisely. And so what that means is, let's just say a page is no longer available and you have a 404 page. You want to be very careful with the redirects that you use. to make sure that they don't prohibit your site from being crawled. You also want to submit an XML site map. Now, this is not the same thing as submitting your website to Google, as some myths are out there that you have to do when you have a website. That's a different thing. This is just a site map that shows how the website is laid out. You may want to do that, so it helps Google understand what's on the website, but you're not submitting your website. It is a difference. You want to minimize duplicate content. Now, this has been out for debate for a very long time, because I know, and you may have even done it, you may create a blog post and then take that content and put it elsewhere, identical. And so there's some schools of thought that say that duplicate content can hurt your site's website ability to rank. So you want to look at that. Do you have any duplicate content on the website or elsewhere, as it may have a negative impact on your site's ability to rank? And you also want to check for index pages, and we just talked about that. You want to make sure everything is being indexed. That index is that filing period where it's just sitting there waiting on a user to put in the keyword so that that information can be retrieved. Now, some top ranking factors for your website include mobile optimization. Google is penalizing websites if they're not mobile optimized. And so that's one of the easiest things that you can do, either making sure your website is responsive, or even going the extra step to actually creating a mobile site for your website. You want to also make sure you have a secure domain. If you navigate up to your URL and there's no little lock to the left of the URL, that means that your website domain is not secure, and you'll be penalized for that. And thirdly, site speed. There are many sites that you can go out and test your website site speed. You want to do that. If it doesn't load in less than 3 seconds or so, there could be some things on a site that's dragging it down. And that slower site speed has a really big impact on the ranking. Again, Google's main objective is the user experience. And that's what you really have to think about for SEO. What is the user experience like with my website? If users are getting stuck on certain pages, if they're taking too long to load, if they're getting a lot of errors, those are things that's going to flag Google that this is not a credible site. So it goes against your reputation, which we talked about. And so it's not going to be delivered to the users. Okay, so secondly, on page. Ensure your website is high in utility and full of relevant information for users. And again, it goes back to the user experience. Use good keywords, use terms that people really do say and use, because it is a ranking factor. And then you can also make sure that you optimize the title tags. Those are the tags, the headers on your website, the H1, H2 headers. Optimize those. The pictures that you use on your website, optimize those by actually naming what they are and then adding your keywords. Alt text is text behind an image that will show in the event that for some reason your image is not rendering. And so when you describe what's in the picture, the user, if they can't see the image, at least they know what the image was because you've described it. So many times people just take the image and they take whatever name comes along with it, and it's typically a whole bunch of letters and numbers that tells the search engines nothing about what's in the image. And so again, goes back to user experience. Is that the experience that you want your user to have if for some reason that image doesn't render? So think about that. Keep your user, just like with any marketing, keep your user front and center. Put them at the heart of the story. And then lastly here is off page. Off page is how you build the website's reputation through things like backlinks. You want people linking to your website, because when people link to your website through a backlink, that's telling search engines that, hey, they must be credible. These credible sites are linking to this website. So let's take a look at them. Let's prioritize them. They have a good reputation. So the more high quality backlinks you have, the more credible search engines view your website, which improves your rank. That's a lot, I know. Okay, so we talked about this. This is the example that I mentioned. So this is just a classic organic search engine results page. And I'm glad I did this because I can point out that little triangle that I mentioned. So a few things to note here. So Crayons and Marketers of Nashville Full Service Marketing Agency, that's your title tag. So now let's notice a few things here. I put Nashville in the title tag because I'm a Nashville-based business. And so I want to pull up when people search marketing agencies in Nashville. So I optimized the title tag by putting it there. The URL, crayonsandmarketers.com. Next to crayonsandmarketers.com, that's that little triangle I was just talking about. And so if you click on that, it shows that my website is being indexed. If that little triangle is not next to your URL, that's something that you want to take a look at and maybe pull in your web developer to see why it's not indexing. Meta description. That is Crayons and Marketers is a full service marketing agency in Nashville using the power of story, strategy, and design to help brands attract new business. Again, a few terms that I use in the title tag and the meta description. I use Nashville, I use full service marketing agency. Rich snippets, which are not, I don't have any here, but that's an example like ratings, reviews may show up there. That's what we call a rich snippet. And then your site links. These site links are things that are on the website, the contact, about us, our team, and our press. Now, if you compare this to ad results, now one thing you'll notice, ad results appear ahead of organic listings. And so anybody who is advertising, their listings will show above just organic listings. And so one thing to note here on the ads, they will say ad. So very clearly. So these are two of my competitors, but I put them in there, gave them a little press. So keyword research, you guys, and we're almost done. Essential to SEO and SEM strategy is keyword research, which is the process of discovering the key terms users enter into the search bar to find products and services like yours. Your job is to select the most relevant keywords with high search volume, but within reach. And what that means is keyword research is really a science. And if you can hire somebody to do it, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you to do it, just because it really does take some time to come up with the right keywords. And when I say high search volume and within reach, that person would know what that means. Because if you have high search volume, you want people to be looking for the terms, but you have to make sure that you can get them because you have to bid on them. If this is search engine marketing, you have to pay for those keywords. So you have to have the budget for it. And so you have to, all those factors go into play in keyword research. And so that's why if you can bring in somebody to help you work through your keywords, it is definitely worth the investment because something you want to look at, routinely, but it's not something you have to look at every day. So if you bring somebody in to help you get straight on your keywords, you could probably use them for a while. It'd be definitely worth the money. So your goal is to appear when users search for those terms organically or in the search ad. So fast facts for keywords. There are two types, short and long tail. Short tail keywords are typically 1 to 2 words and are less specific, like green tea. Search volume for these terms is high, right? Which drives up the demand for them, like we just talked about. Search volume, high demand. So it's more competition. Short tail keywords account for 30% of search traffic. But long tail keywords are typically 3 to 4 words and more specific. Like I may say green tea from California. So that's more specific. So competition for these keywords is lower, which makes it easier to rank for these. And long tail keywords account for about 70% of all search traffic. So in a keyword, someone who can help you with keywords will help you figure out the right mix. So SEO keyword best practices, you want to pick a topic or a theme, you want to brainstorm possible keywords and keyword variations. Again, that's what I mean by that. They'll help you figure that out because it could be green tea and then green tea from California, then green tea decaffeinated. Just, it's different variations, and you want to cover all of those. And then you can get into a whole bunch of ranking the keywords, P1, P2. It's so much, y'all. Just hire somebody. You want to review keyword value, prioritize your keywords. There are a lot of online tools that can help here, like Google Keyword Planner, and that's free to you. You can even do that. If you get into Google AdWords, it's going to make it seem like you're setting up a campaign, but go ahead and do it. Just use the keyword planner. You can use SEMrush for SpotFu, search engines, and WordStream, free keyword tools. So there's a lot of help out there. But again, if you can, just bring somebody in to really help you think through it. We're going to blow through this real quick. There are a few, when you're setting up an SEM campaign, there are a few steps that you're going to follow. So you're going to have your ad campaign. If you've ever run a Facebook campaign, it's very similar as far as structure. Like when you're going to set up your campaign like you would for Facebook. You set up a campaign in Google AdWords, and then you set up ad groups, which are very much like the ad sets in Facebook. And then you'll use your keywords, split by volume. You want to be very careful here in your PPC campaign because a high volume keyword can eat up all your budget, because we just talked about they cost more because they're in more demand. The more competitive a keyword is, the more you're going to have to bid for it, right? And so if you put too many high volume keywords in your ad group, you're going to eat up some budget from something else. Then you're going to go from your keywords to your ad text, and that's set up at the group level, and then your landing pages. Again, lean on Google Keyword Planner and any other of those free tools that I just mentioned to help you figure out the keywords to use. A few things to talk about. We've already touched on these. You do not have to submit your website to search engines. It's discovered on its own. You can submit the XML sitemap. That just helps Google and search engines understand what's on your site, but it's different than submitting your website. Like, hey, Google, my website just went live. Would you go look at it? You don't have to do that. Okay, so you do not have to stuff your content with keywords. In fact, you should not stuff your content with keywords. And that means just putting every other word as your keyword. Think natural language. How can your keywords be used in a natural way to optimize your content? And lastly, PPC ads do not help your search rankings. You can run all the PPC ads in the world, and it's not going to improve your website search rankings. That's a completely different discipline. So if anybody tells you that, don't hire them. That's not PPC's job. PPC's job is to drive people to a specific thing. It's not to improve your search rankings. That's your SEO. So you really can do a combination, and you should do a combination of both. But PPC does not help your SEO. Okay, so why SEO, SEM? With the shift to digital, it's more important now than ever to fight invisibility. If you don't hear anything else I say tonight, fight invisibility is your takeaway. So how do you do that? You want to identify your business objective. All your marketing should ladder up to your business plan. You're not marketing just to market. You are trying to achieve your business objectives, and your marketing is there to help you do that. So based on your business objectives, search strategy or SEO strategy makes sense here, create that strategy to achieve your objectives. And then you want to optimize your website using SEO, and then you want to run your ad campaigns as needed, track your results, and then you tweak and repeat, because there's going to be some things you're going to do from an SEO standpoint that don't move the needle. So you may need to do some different things. I know one thing we're doing on our website is we're looking at our font type, because we think that our current font type, and y'all go out there and look at it and let me know, is too small. And so that may be hurting readability, which impacts how long people stay on the website, the duration. And so it's things like that that can help, those little tweaks that can make a big difference on your website. So that's it. Gosh, that was a lot. I'm sorry. Website creativemarketers.com, phone 615-208-6445. That's my email. I'm going to stop sharing now for any questions. Hey, Brittany. Gosh, do we have any questions? That was a lot. And I tried not to go too deep. So just imagine if I had went deep. And so we still would have been here talking. Great. Well, I'm glad it was helpful. Brittany and Deshonda. Salisa? Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad it was helpful. If you have any questions, always just feel free to reach out to me. I think everybody on this chat that I'm looking at has my email address. Y'all can just email me or call me. So thank you so much. And I think I'm going to release it over to our next person. I'm not sure, or we can hang out here and we can talk. Brittany, what advice do you have for utilizing content marketing to drive traffic? So content marketing, that is our favorite place to be, because I like content marketing because it puts together the two things that I love, which is telling stories and driving actual revenue, because that's the goal of content marketing, is to drive revenue. So to utilize content marketing to drive traffic, I think the most important thing is understanding your audience and then creating content that you know would be interesting to your audience because you've done the research. I think a step that is often missed when it comes to content marketing is the research. And you really have to understand your research and the cultural nuances that are present within your those audiences. For example, we as cultural marketers, we look at, for example, Hispanics. A lot of people like to look at Hispanic consumers as a monolith, and they're far from a monolith. Just various nuances that you need to understand so that you don't say the wrong thing, don't come from the wrong way because you hadn't taken the time to do your research. And those types of nuances are present within all demographics. And so taking the time to do the market research, understanding the cultural nuances, creating your content strategy, understanding what business objectives you want to achieve with that content strategy, and then knowing the channels that those individuals are on and how they use those channels. And so if your audience is not on LinkedIn, then why are you spending $1,000 on LinkedIn ads? So could you be getting a better bang for your buck by using Facebook? Are you using your first party data to retarget on Facebook? And so it's all these creative things that you can do to really optimize your campaign. But it really does start with that research and learning how to optimize that data to get to your desired outcomes. So what other questions do we have? One more minute. What more other questions do we have for you? Oh, you're welcome, Brittany. Anything else? So what was your biggest question about SEO, SEM? What's your biggest challenge there? Type it into the chat box. No questions? Brittany, you mentioned as a former marketer, this was my least favorite tactic, SEO, SEM. Website copy optimization. Yeah. And it's hard because you just don't know. And the thing about SEO, it takes, and keywords, yeah. I tell people, we're a full service agency, and so I know SEO, SEM, and do pretty good at it. But when I really need keyword research, just bring in somebody who that's all they do, so that you can get to your outcomes. The last thing you want to do is you kind of muddle through it, and then you come up with a group of keywords that are not very helpful for you. So not only don't you hit your goals, but then you spend a lot of time on something, a list that isn't ideal for you. So SEO does not, that's one of the things that people get a little bit turned around about. SEO takes it takes some time. Google is not fast. Just because you make an update on your website today, it probably won't even be indexed for some weeks. It just takes that long. And so for it to really start, not saying that the content's not there, but as far as it to really be a candidate to be retrieved from that retrieval stage to answer a user's question, it just takes some time. Can you explain indexing again? I just realized my website does not have the triangle, right? That means if you, and I don't know, let me see if I can share my screen. I can show you. I think I can show you better. Give me just a second. And marketers. Try to get to my triangle. Okay, so tell me if you can see this. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to lose sight of you, but hopefully you can see what I mean. Okay, so hopefully you can see that. So I just typed in trends and marketers. Now, if you go here, here's the little triangle, and you see how it says Cage. I cannot pronounce that word, y'all. Y'all pronounce it. Okay, so that means that it's that it is being indexed. It is in the indexing stage. That means that search engines are taking the information on my website and they're storing it in their search databases. Now, if it's not there, that means that you can use tools like Google Search Console, which is free. It's free to use, so you can get to that. You can use Google Search Consoles, and Google Search Consoles will show you the errors on your website. It really is. It is one of the best. So two things you need to make sure you have, and these are free, so there's no reason for you not to have it. You need to have Google Analytics, and you need to have you need to tap into your Google Search Console. And if your web developer is not setting those things up for you, then you need to look a little side-eyed at them, because that should just be standard. You know, I meet so many business owners, they don't have Google Analytics. They have never heard of Google Search Console or Google Webmaster Tools. And these are all free tools that are available to you. And so you need to make sure that you have that, because it gives you a 360 view of your website, so you're more informed. Google Search Console gives you so much information about your site and who's on your site and any problems with your site that you can easily fix, or at least get to your web developer to fix. Google also has a website called Test My Site. You can put in your URL, and they will send you a report of all the errors on your website, or in some of the good news. So it's not all bad. So if your website is doing well in areas, it'll say that. But if it has trouble spots, it will say that as well. So I'm going to put that URL in the chat. Test my site. And make sure I give you guys the right one. Okay. Yeah. Here it is. Yes. Yeah. Yes, I'm going to put this in the chat. So what I want you to do is put your domain in the, all you have to do is enter your domain into that, and just hit enter, and they will deliver some results to you. So make sure you do that. Again, that's free. And that way you can take these results, this report that they're going to send you, and you can give it to your web developer and say, hey, I got some problems going on. Again, site speed is one of the biggest problems with sites ranking. And if you go into, you're welcome. And if you go into Google Analytics, you'll know just how long it's taking your pages to load. And that is a problem, 14, 15 seconds too long. It really has to be. You can go to another website. So I'm giving y'all all my little tricks, y'all. So it's called Pingdom, PINGDOM.com, I believe. You can go to that. You can put your website in, and it will tell you how long. I'm going to put that in the chat too. I'm just going to check it, make sure it's right. Yes, it is. tools@pingdom.com. You can put your site in here and it will tell you how long it takes your site to load. Again, free tool, it's freemium. And so they'll give you good information for free. So y'all use that too. So type in your website, like I'm gonna do mine now. Just to see North America. Just put your site in there. It'll do like a test here to see how it's doing. You just have to give it a few seconds, and then it will report back the speed of your website, and then you can take that information to your web developer. So it still gives you a grade. It tells you what the page load time, like the load time for my website is 3 seconds. But it's also telling me some errors that I have about cookies, which is a whole nother conversation because cookies, maybe third-party cookies may be going away. Page request, I get an A in a few areas. And so another thing for SEO is something to think about, guys. Make sure that you're optimizing the images on your website. You know, we want these real pretty, rich, big images, you know, high definition, looking great, but the file size needs to be, I'm poor on my personal site, it's new. But you want to make sure that you optimize your images, meaning that you want to make sure that the file size are small as possible without jeopardizing the integrity of the image. You don't want your images on your site to start pixelating, and pixelating happens when the file size is too small for the window or the page that it's on. But you want to make sure that the images are optimized or small so that they don't slow down the site. When you have all these really big images on your website, it slows down your site. So you don't want to do that. And that's often overlooked. So not only are you going to name the alt text on your images, again, you're going to name them with real things that actually describe what's in the image, but you're also going to make sure you reduce the file size of those images so that they don't drag down the site, the speed of the site. Okay. So I'm just all these little goodies. Anything else, guys? Anything else I can help with? Let's see. I'm just going to go here. Thank you. Now I'm mispronouncing your name. Salisa? Hopefully that's right. Okay, what if you have video on your site? It depends on how the video is. If you are just using the embed code for YouTube, it's not gonna, if anything, it's gonna help with SEO. It doesn't take up any space really because it's, again, it's a link basically. Now, if you are embedding an actual video, that's something that you want to take a look at because they're going to be huge. So is there a way to, can you just start your YouTube channel and just house that video there and just do the embed code so that you don't have to accommodate this big file size of a video file? Now, something else to think about, a lot of websites use a lot of video in the hero image. And so you want to look at that, make sure that those snips are short so that they don't take up too much space and drag your site down. Let's see, like an infographic on the home page. Infographics are typically, let's just say it's, you can save an infographic as a ping file. And so if you save it as a ping file, just again, when you save it, you can hover over it and you can see how large the file size is. That's what you want to look at. You need to know how many, kilobytes, megabytes, or whatever, how many it is. Like my web developer tells me to make sure it's under 100 kilobytes. And so I always make sure, and there's a lot of places you can go to optimize images. You don't have to pay, pay anything. You can go to Canva, which is my favorite place to be, to play with your images, to bring them down to a JPEG or whatnot. You can go to a website called befunky.com and you can save it and they show you can use a bar to adjust the size of the file, and it'll tell you when you're starting to get into poor image quality, which I really like. And so that's befunky, BEFUNKY.com. Be funky. You can put your picture in, you can optimize it, tweak it, give people the color, do whatever. You can do that, and then you save it, and then you have the option of how you save it and how large you want your file size to be. So you basically compress in your image. Now, let's see, that's often the challenge for growing business. We hire the website designer. Yeah, you hire the designer, not the developer. You need the developer. You need a developer and a designer, same person. Yes, it's pretty and not optimized. Yes, I'm enjoying this. Awesome. Any other questions? Anything else I can help with? Um, I don't want to keep you ladies from the main stage. I think we have Sherelle Lands on. I don't want you to miss nuggets from her. Well, ladies, if there's no additional questions, I'm going to let you go. Like I said, I don't want you to miss the closing moments from the rest of the conference, but this has been amazing. If you have any questions, you can definitely give me a call, 615-208-6445. Again, that's 615-208-6445, or you can email me, JACQUI.Hayes, HAYES, at crayonsofmarketers.com. Happy to help any way I can, or just talk through some of the issues, or point you in the right direction. So have a good night, and I will see you ladies, I'm sure, soon. Bye-bye. Be safe. Wear your mask.